Johnny, is it okay if I ask you a couple quick questions?
Let's go.
Okay. That is the let's go. That's a point against you. How many Robins are there?
How many what?
Robins? Like Batman and
Like
Robin?
play Robin, the world's best lifter? Like one, bro. Let's go.
Okay. I was wondering what version I was talking to. Hold on, let me just shoot out a quick text. I'm gonna have our HR department fix something real quick. And sent. Johnny, are you feeling any different?
Oh, it's you.
Oh, hey,
Hey,
Johnny.
Shay. How's the world's best author going?
That's right. You've read my book, right? Did it change your life?
It opened my eyes to a universe I didn't know existed.
I love that. Well, it's so good to have you with us, Johnny. I know the last thing you remember is probably finishing the cast, but let's start again.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to win some great trinkets.
Okay, Johnny, what are we talking about to have such an
Oh,
elaborate joke?
you and we like to take our time on stuff. And the show that dropped in April called Severance.
Severance. And where can people find Severance?
Apple Plus or Apple TV. I always get them confused.
So this was the thing that finally got us to pay for Apple TV. We had done the free quick subscription when my wife got a phone, and we watched Ted Lasso. And then we heard about Severance when our subscription had expired, and I was like, I can't afford two subscriptions. I'm already stealing Netflix. I can't afford to actually pay for Apple.
I get it. It's when my neighbor changes his Wi-Fi. We're all screwed. His Wi-Fi password. It's like, what am I gonna do now?
I know, big boobs with a Z.
Ugh.
I thank goodness. Anyway, um, so talking about Severance, Johnny. Now that I have podcast Johnny with me and not Jim Bro Johnny. Now that I have nerd
Nerds.
Johnny.
Actually, there's been four Robins. Five if you count the female Robin.
Oh, oh. uh, so tell me, Johnny, um, what caused you to watch this film or this show?
So I unlike you because I don't have to support anybody but myself. I can't afford multiple streaming sites. I've had Apple for a while, and I love Apple's stuff. Ted Lasso, Mythic Quest, which I tried getting you to watch, which is just Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia owning a gaming company. And then a lot of people have been telling me, hey, you got to watch this show. You got to watch this show. And I'm like, you and me, we've been a little off on shows lately, or just not in the mood. We've had seasonal, year-round death stuff, so we don't want to deal with anything. And we go, and I'm like, fine, I'll give this show a shot. Hour long, 8 episodes. I thought there's actually 9. Fast forward to 3 days later, I knocked it out.
Yeah, so what happened for us is we watched the first episode because they let you watch one episode free. That's how they get you, and we paid the subscription after that because we wanted to finish the series so badly. I have some spoiler-free questions I'm going to quickly. I just wanted to quickly discuss with you for those who haven't watched the show and are on the fence. This would just be a way for them to know kind of what the dealio is without feeling like we're spoiling anything. Um, so tell me, Johnny, are there any other shows that are like this for you that you've encountered?
No, I really do like this. It's not a spoiler. The concept is right to severance your personality, your outside personality, your real life from your work personality. And there's not a show that really tackles multi-personality. There used to be one. It's Orphan Annie, not Orphan Annie. Oh my goodness, why am I drawing a blank? She's the She-Hulk. She-Hulk. I'll look it up.
Orphan
She-Hulk.
Black. Orphan Black.
Orphan Black. Yeah, she had a show where it was a character playing different, but it was different people. It wasn't the same person, right? But it was the same actress doing different personalities. So that was, and that's not even close to it. That's the closest thing I thought of it, and I wasn't even close to it. There was, I talked to many people. There was a show on, is it Black Mirror? What's that Netflix show about?
Yeah, Black Mirror.
Like Twilight Zone, right?
Yeah.
There's one episode that's super similar to that, but that's one episode, not a series.
I wonder if they saw that episode and thought, oh, we could make a whole series on that.
I mean, that's how, like a lot of people learned stuff from the Twilight Zones that came out in the 50s, right? They took one concept from that and made movies. So
Yeah. I was going to ask you, in terms of, shows you've probably seen that I haven't, Lost. is a mystery box show. Do you see any correlation between Lost and Severance?
Lost had a lot of issues that some people had with like the original Game of Thrones, where you're like, season 6, man, when are we gonna see these dragons? You know, like 6 years into it. Lost is kind of like, dude, we're 4 seasons in. Can you answer something?
Right.
This show does. There is mystery to it. There's a lot of theory stuff to it, but it does answer some things. That's what I do like about it. You don't. It's a good first chapter.
Progress is made.
Yeah, as a client of mine said, it's a good. There is mystery, but there is some things that you get out of it. So it's not like you watch a whole season and be like, cool, nothing was answered.
Yeah, I can't stand that. Actually, I would have turned it off if we'd have gotten too far and no questions had been answered. I would have. I'd have just turned it off because it's like my time's worth more than this. I can't do it.
And we came to the game super late. Like the second season will drop for us like in 2 months.
Thank goodness.
For people who watch it, it's been a year. So.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be quite that quick. They said the first season took them like 3 years to make.
Yeah, no. They're already on, I think, post-production, so I read. I could be wrong. Feel free to quote me, but
2 months is aggressive, though, Johnny. I think it's 2023. I mean, 2 weeks is 2023, but I think it's towards the end of the year.
Yeah, but that could mean 2023 December.
Yeah, I think it's going to be closer to a year out, from what I saw.
Okay.
But
I mean,
they haven't announced it officially.
No. This is just me putting in the universe of me reading it from a nerd site. It wasn't even our nerd site.
That would be a little bit circular in terms of logic.
That's how my logic goes. You tell me something and I believe it.
So how long did it take you? When you watched that first episode, how long did it take you to get sucked in?
I knocked out 4 pretty quick. I had the luxury of enjoying downtime. And then you watch another one. So I knocked the first 4 pretty quick, and I was really proud of myself. I didn't really knock it out in 3 days. It was more like a week. So proud of myself for going 4, and then like 2, space a day, 1, space a day, 1. So you can knock it out in 2 days if you want. You can milk it for a month if you really want to. But it's one of those shows that once you get past the midpoint, it's not rapid fire, but it is quick. It is a slow burn for a little bit.
Right, because they have to world build, so they do pace it really well to where once the world's established, then the story kicks up, and instead of being a few months, you're experiencing half of the season is over the course of like 3 days.
Yeah, maybe closer to 2 weeks, I think. Okay. In their time.
They don't explicitly say, I don't think, but
yeah, they're very good about incognito. They're very good about not leaving stuff up to the imagination. I don't know how to put it. There's things about like you don't know exactly what year we're in. It's there's just stuff to it.
I think for me, I was into it right off the bat. The show starts with someone getting questioned and they can't see any way out, and I was instantly hooked. I'm like, this is really interesting. What is even going on? You know what I mean? Like, who's the bad guy? What's the circumstances that would even cause this to happen? And the more layers they peel back, the weirder it gets. And then they start to answer some questions, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. But then other things don't make sense at all. So I thought that was pretty cool. For you, what made the show great?
Great cast.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that more. But
yeah, great cast. But I mean, a lot of shows will have an amazing cast and it not be great. So it's the rare time where it is a great cast that works. And I'm very, very particular on I like humor in stuff. You can have humor in action movies, drama. This one doesn't have that much humor, but when they do it, it's great. It was just different. How many times we watch superhero movies, Star Wars redone. I mean, Wednesday Addams just dropped. That was what everyone was talking about, which is great. But we know who Wednesday Addams is. We know they're the Addams family. This one was just so out of left field, and it feels like as the main actor when he was on Parks and Rec said, it's a show that fixes on both. It's real life scenarios, but it has a cool sci-fi twist to it.
Yeah, I like that. That is funny that we have Ben Wyatt, is the main character. I can't remember his real name. But
Adam Scott? No,
Adam
Scott. Is it Adam Scott?
Adam Scott. Okay. Yeah, I love that Adam Scott in Parks and Rec is kind of in like an office sort of situation, and this is like a complete 180 from that. And what range he has. We'll get to the cast in 1 second, but he is phenomenal in it. Well, okay, final question before we jump into the cast and direction. I just was curious, what do you even genre? Like, how do you even treat this as a genre?
Yeah, it's hard because I guess because of technology that we don't have in our dimension, right? You can call it sci-fi.
Yeah, but it
But
doesn't. It's so
they call it
grounded.
more of just a thriller, like a drama thriller, right? I think that's what they're characterized. But it is sci-fi in the fact of severing your brain is not true, right? So it's a side dramedy. I don't even know. There's no comedy in it, but
Side
it's a
dramedy.
thriller. Yeah, there's a thrilling part to it. Suspenseful. It's suspenseful, right?
A little too suspenseful
Hmm.
sometimes. Okay, let's talk about the cast. Who was your favorite cast member?
I did like Adam Scott's character. It's very relatable to me. I'm a huge fan of She's at a Man Seeking Woman. Do you remember that show?
Yeah.
So the sister on that show, played by Britt Liar. Anyways, it's Helly. She's a
Helly
great
R.
actress. She's underutilized a lot in shows. I've seen her in some independent movies, and she's very dry, like a good dry humor to her. So again, these actors, what are really cool, like I was trying to say, split personality. They're you once you get to know these characters, you can tell the difference between the work character and the real life character, right? Because they play them so different.
Yeah, which is a really hard feat to do.
Subtle different too, right? Yeah, it's not just like, oh cool, he's acting like a gym bro, which is not really him. It's just facial expressions, technique, right? Even their breath. I was reading somewhere their breath's a little bit different.
Yeah, and for me, one of the big things was posture. They have different postures, especially Adam Scott. His two versions, one has really good posture, and the other has awful posture. And I thought that was an interesting, like, it really, for me, it was a very good visual. Like, okay, I know which one I'm dealing with right now. Not that it was ever in question, but
Yeah, but I mean, we don't know. They can cut to a scene and we don't know what's going on.
it makes it immersive for you. It's been a long time since I've watched a show where like I completely forgot everything. You know what I mean? Like you suspend that disbelief. Everything in my life was forgotten, and all I could think about was the story in the show. I just had to keep up, and that is, it was like a Thanksgiving dinner, like a Christmas present.
Ah, ah.
I was gonna ask you, are you familiar with who directed it? At least mainly.
Oh, I was actually shocked by who is the executive producer. I don't know if he's a creator. I don't know if he's one of the co-creators.
I don't know.
But the executive producer is a big deal. That's the guy who controls a lot, right? And I can tell when he's directing. And we're talking about the infamous, famous Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller. You know, Ben Stiller is quietly becoming one of my favorite directors. So he did, which also has Adam Scott in it. He did The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Did he do Walter Mitty? Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
He did Cable Guy, and he did Tropic Thunder. And those are three very different films.
You got to be careful about that one nowadays.
I love Tropic Thunder.
I love it too. I own a copy of it. I was just watching.
Go ahead.
Did he direct Zoolander?
You mean Madagascar?
No, Zoolander.
Did he?
I don't know. That's me asking.
No, I don't think so.
I'm assuming if he writes it, because he does all his work, right? He did this in like the early '90s. He got really big into writing movies and directing it for himself. Why not?
Right.
There.
It's just interesting that he's so talented, and you know, you can say a lot of things about Tropic Thunder. One of the few things you can't say is like that it wasn't creative. And it was a social commentary too. And that's one thing I like about it too, is a lot of times there's like a social commentary on it that isn't hitting you over the head with it. Like there's a lot I think about with Severance that like it makes me kind of rethink my perspective on the world in general. You know what I mean?
Well, Walter Mitty did that for me that he made, right? It was just like you're trapped in a job and you go on an adventure and it changes your life. Who can't relate on being in a job you don't, want to wake up from?
Right. And the idea of, like what makes us who we are, is it our memories or is it our experience? You know what I mean? Like, is it your genetic layout? Like it brings up an interesting question of nature versus nurture.
Yeah, not to spoil too much, but to go back on when he records his scenes, because you're a cinematography guy. He does a lot of parallels when he's directing. you'll notice there'll be symmetry. Like the person will be in the middle and both windows will be beside, right?
Yeah.
That's what I knew he was directing, the symmetry of spacing. This happened a lot in a show called Legion. It was this FX show on about unknown Marvel characters. And I really like that. Like it draws you in. Your eyes are not. It helps focus your eyes on the character, not on everything around you.
And they do a lot with that. They do stuff that makes me feel uncomfortable. Like they'll film from certain angles that make the people look really big or really small. There's a lot with how they film, and then there's some like I don't know if you noticed this, but some of the soundtrack like they'll occasionally hit the wrong note, and it makes you like very unsettling. Like there'll be like a nice piano, and then they're hitting the wrong note every like 10th note all of a sudden when things are starting to go wrong. So the other movie that I wanted to bring up is Zoolander. He directed Zoolander.
He did. Okay.
Did you say Zootopia or Zoolander?
No, I said Zoolander.
I swear I heard Zootopia. And I was like,
I do like Zootopia, though.
Why would he film or why would he direct Zootopia?
Why not? It's money.
Just so random, though. Like, that's funny.
Why did he direct Shrek the Third? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to ask, is there anything that is spoiler-free that you want to, like, before we get into the weeds? We're 15 minutes in, so this is a great spoiler-free review. What else can you say about the show to get someone hooked and to get them to want to watch it?
A lot of people always, when they tell you to watch a show, they're always like, get past the third one. It picks up after the third episode. Not on this one. This one will get you. There's parts in the very beginning which it's interesting enough. So that's what I say is you don't have to give it more than a one episode chance.
Yeah. I would say one thing I like about it is it's kind of told from Adam Scott's perspective, and he's kind of discovering things as you are. Like, he doesn't really know what's going on. He needs training in some things. Like, you know, he's still learning, and he's not in a position of power, really. Not really. He's
now you're spoiling it. Now I know he's just a learner.
Well, what I like about it is he's learning as you are. This is pretty, general, but in terms of narrative storytelling, I'm always a fan of that. I like two things. I like when you're discovering things with the person, not the person like instructing you or someone expositing it for no reason. Like, it doesn't make sense, the classic, we've never been to that planet before. It's like, you wouldn't say that in a normal conversation. The two of you have been friends for 10 years, so that's really well done. And then the other thing is they say to torture your audience, and this show like tortured me, man. Like, trying to figure things out. It was awful.
I won't say the scene, but in Game of Thrones when Jon Snow, this is a spoiler, but this show's been out for a while. Jon Snow's dead, and they're zooming in, and you're just like, open your eyes, and they hold this thing for like 45 seconds, and you're like, this took it's time consuming, kills you. And then he opens his eyes, but he's alive, all this stuff. So the suspense that it makes you, like, just answer the question, just open your eyes. Nothing to do with Severance, but there is a scene in that show where they make you do that.
Yeah. No, there totally are. There's multiple scenes.
That's right. I was going to say there's more than one.
It's pretty, it loves to torture you, which I'm a fan of. It's like that Harry Potter line, you're going to suffer, but you'll be happy about it.
What kind of Harry Potter are you watching?
It's when Ron's trying to interpret Harry's, like, tea leaves. He's like, you've got a sun in it and this, so you're going to suffer, but you'll be happy about it.
You would quote a Weasley.
Okay, so now that we're through that, can we get into the weeds?
All right. If you haven't seen it yet, turn it off right now, and then listen to us again in 12 hours after you watch it.
Exactly. Yeah, come back to this spot. Okay. Johnny. We're now into
Mother
spoilers.
trucker, that's all I'm going to say. Mother trucker, dude. Give me my flippin' milk. I said it. Flippin'. I said it, Moss. That show had me so many questions. Let's just go. What we were trying to say, Knights, is right off the bat, what I'm saying about one episode was, because nothing really, like, I get confused a lot. I was lost. But then at the very end, when you realize the person he's on the phone with, the neighbor, turns out to be Arquette, his boss. Then I was like, if this is just the first episode, what else am I going to discover? I
know, right? Like, they gave you big, like, they would set up these mysteries or whatever, and then answer them right off the bat, which I thought was really cool. Like, that's a good one. Whether or not I thought for a second, like, is this really going to be his friend? And then he's looking at the photo of his friend, and they answered it. There's this mysterious businessman, and it ends up being his friend. And I thought this is something they could have dragged out, but they didn't. It was the other things they dragged out and had surprises later on.
Well, he's Mark's best friend, but he's not. Wait, you're my best friend, but I'm not your best friend. Ooh, that was such a mean line.
I know.
From the business guy. Ooh.
I know it was. I wonder if his best friend's his daughter then.
Could be, or maybe there's just other. The cool thing is, and I can see people not liking this or liking it, but of how, and this is why it can last more seasons. They only gave us Marks, Annie, and Audi. We don't know anyone else really. Like 5% of all the other characters, we don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
Like we don't know their whole back. Like they can do a whole season about Helly's backstory. I mean, they won't, but you know what I mean. Though they have that opportunity.
Right, the most you learn about is, I would say, the guy with the mustache. I can't remember his name now. Frank, maybe?
Frank. Irving.
Irving, yeah, the tattletale, who's like way into it.
Or wait, or you mean Dylan? Do you mean the guy with glasses?
No. The one who's like, he at the end he's driving and he's going to meet Bert.
Oh yeah, it is Irving. It's Irving.
Irving, yeah.
Yeah. Or Mr. Dietz, Butler, whatever you want.
Mr. Dietz is Butler. He has anger management problems, and he's been in a lot of Adam Sandler's movies. He's Carmine Falcone in the new Batman movie.
I don't want to get into DC right now. Can
that's
you please?
Fine, that's fine.
Can you severance me from DC?
I'm just saying what he was
Can you severance me from DC?
Okay, Johnny, but seriously, let's talk about it.
Yeah, no, I think, again, why I love this show so much is because we get to have freaking, theories again, right?
Yeah.
You can theorize about a show. And, the theory is, how awake is he, right? Because he paints this room that we've only seen one other character go to, that all dark hallway with the red light, right? And that's what he's obsessed with.
Yeah.
When he's asleep still, well, he's outside before his innie gets turned on, and towards the end, he has a lot of notes on his coworkers. They're not even supposed to know each other's names, right?
Right, and he knows all
the
of
names.
Them. Yeah. What is he
knows
doing?
Addresses.
And it almost seems like, as fanatical as he is of a believer on the inside, his outside is so fanatical against it. It's almost like his personality is the same, but just complete opposites in terms of where that energy is directed.
Yeah, some things stay the same, right? Mark is always going to be a good person first, right? Put others ahead of himself.
Oh my gosh.
Irving loves art.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that was a thing.
Yeah.
That's who his outside person is, right? And then the one with glasses, Dylan, he's driven. Could be bad or good, right? He's just driven.
Yeah, and he was funny. Dylan, so here's one thing that's cool. You could take a line from the show, and you could be like, all right, which character said this? And because their personalities are so distinct, I bet you could be like, oh, that was Dylan. Oh, that was Irving. Oh, that was Mark. Oh, that was Millie. Helly. Oh, gosh. Helly R. Sorry.
Helly.
Okay, you want me to blow your mind real quick?
Yeah.
The neighbor boss, is kissing Kate Barlow from the old Holes movie.
Oh, yeah, I know the Arquettes pretty well.
Okay, well, I thought
I know the Arquettes. Oh. Did you forget who's casting with you?
Can I turn back on the Jim Bro and surprise him?
Did.
Dude, that's
Kissing
this? Kate Barlow. Let's go.
Dude, is Megan Fox making a cameo? Ooh. She's wearing Gymshark boys?
I want a whole cast where it's just with the Jim Bro.
Dude, I speak Jim Bro so good, man. Last set, best set. Let's go. But yeah, no. Like I said, this cast, I was not expecting freaking Christopher Walken's.
To play like a side character, like a didn't have the spotlight, was just in the background.
But made it so compelling, because how much does he know, right?
Right.
Well, what experiment is this? There's so many empty rooms, and it's such a big office, like the upstairs, right? Not the basement where they go down the elevator to forget what's going on.
And so here's a couple unsolved mysteries. Like, why was it so important that they needed to get that key card back? Like, it was just a laminated piece of paper. When Dylan steals it from their department and hides it in the toilet.
That's right. Yeah, when they go to visit the other department, and it looked like just a kung fu move. Like it looked like an instructor.
Why is this so important?
Yeah, it was like a laminated 3x5 of a guy, an office-looking guy, looking like he's backhanding some. Like it looked very at like your orientation day, and they hand you little cards, and you have to. This is how you turn on the system. Looked like nothing.
Yeah, and they treated it so crazily, and it set off a huge chain of events.
I wonder how psychological it all is, because like they were there. I don't know exactly who he is. The Milchick, right?
Yeah.
His
Mr.
character. I don't know if he's
Milchick.
like the supervisor, the one who's taking the pictures, but there's two of them in the main bottom office who are awake, right? Arquette's character and Milchick for sure. But anyway, they were like when he tried to like pawn them off as they fight with the other department, and they accident like what is this psychological? Is it just to get him back on task? Like I don't know. I just don't know.
Milchick was interesting because I thought out of all the like the bosses, I hated every single one of them so much. But Milchick was the only one where I was like, I kind of like him sometimes though. Like, you know what I mean?
You didn't think Harmony Corbell? You didn't think she was a little sympathetic at the last episode when she got fired?
No, she was nuts, dude.
When she was going in and like telling Mark to quit, like you didn't find her a little bit, or when she broke. But she's a true believer, man.
Dude, she was so effing nuts.
The truest believer.
She was so scary to me. Kissing Kate, that's who you're talking about, right? Harmony, yeah. She was so scary.
She was a true believer, man. She had a shrine to the Severance. What's that company called?
Did not like it.
Lumon. Right, which is like this weird like cult thing for it, right? Like it's very
major cultish, dude. A lot of fun. When Homeboy had his waffle party, I'm like, oh
yeah, that's the good thing is there's not like a weird like scene, but they did give you that weird cult scene that made no sense. What's going on with the machine heads?
Unnerving, dude. Unnerving.
Yeah, it was weird. Luckily, it didn't go on too long, and they weren't like. I didn't feel awkward telling my parents they could watch this show.
Yeah, no. But it did add something. It didn't feel like it was just there for the sake of being there. Like it felt like it added something to the show.
Well, there's like I said, we got chapter 1, baby. Like we don't like when Dylan's trying to wake everyone up, right? And they're trying to break in and they're trying to be tempting him to open the door. Dylan, there's all these rewards you don't know about. There's all these levels. That's true, I believe, right? I believe there's way more to that basement than we know.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah. There's way more I can give you. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'll get you a cup holder right now. Like, that was nothing. But when he said something else, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know, man. Dylan, you should take it. Take the deal.
Yeah. Well, and what do these things actually mean? Because a waffle party, I always thought, especially with like the melon and other stuff, I thought a waffle party would literally just be the waffles, and then suddenly there's but
then out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then it turns into something else, and I'm like, oh, I get why it's coveted. Okay, like I understand. And then
yeah, because you got to see like psychologically, right? You don't know what that is. I mean, they get the. It's weird because they know a lot. They just don't have memories, right?
Right.
But they know how to speak. They know how to talk. They know words. They know, like, hey, I'm attracted to this person, right? Like, it's not.
It's like they have wisdom but no knowledge.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of how to even.
I was gonna say intellect, like in D&D terms, right? Your intellect's like at a 4, but your wisdom's at a 0. I don't know. For me, they're intelligent. They don't know what they're doing though, but they're intelligent.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like. You wouldn't be able to understand language. So the Severance has been able to specifically block certain memories that have to do with your identity, and certain ones, not how to speak, not how to eat, none of these other things. So that's one thing that makes it interesting too. Is you're passing through kind of a, I don't know, some screen of forgetfulness. What's interesting too is I don't know, some like when they first did it wasn't the melon party, it was the dance party. It was interesting that the boring Cobb, office suddenly turned into like a disco thing. Like they had lights and everything. So it's all very psychedelic.
I like that you said interesting. That one took me out of it a little and I laughed out loud.
Why?
I don't know. It was just goofy and weird. I always get that way. The aspect of it reminds me of this show Legion, who's like the son of the guy's the son of Professor X so he can mentally do whatever he wants. Anyway, it was just weird. It threw me off, the dance scene, but people loved it. I was just
I thought it was great. Milchick dancing was so funny to me.
yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like it took me out of it because I was laughing. It's such a serious, weird show, and then out of nowhere, it's like, wait, what?
And it's such a goober thing.
Is this Batman dancing like
Dude
the original Batman?
Dude had some moves though. They were goofy, but he had rhythm.
I mean, if they can do the Wednesday Adam dance with my hands, why don't we do one with Milvich with my grooviness? I don't know. It's all there. We'll figure it out.
Dancing behind the guy, just like right in his face. It's like obviously he's not enjoying this. Why are you doing it? And then he bites him.
It is cringe-worthy, like how Michael Scott's cringy, but you'll still put up with it.
Yeah. I liked it. I liked Milchick. I liked him for whatever reason. Like I didn't hate him. Like I hated Kissing Kate, who was
no. You can tell he was trying to be the good cop, right?
Right.
Like he's still authority.
Well,
right.
Harmony was like going into his house and stuff, into Adam Scott's house, into Mark's house, and that made me so uncomfortable.
She went into his life, right? Like, but they know more than we know. They know who they know the wife, right? They know his life.
Yeah. So kind of, you just brought up the wife. So what do you think happened since she's still alive? Okay. I guess before we get into speculation,
let's relive this moment. Yeah, relive the moment, Jay.
Okay. So
episode 8.
When he rips up,
so that's the second to last episode.
Yeah,
right?
So he rips up the photo. He's like, "It's my wife." Mark, how uncomfortable was that scene for one?
Yeah. So Mark was like, moved on, which makes sense. Like if you think about it, if you're that sad and depressed, why didn't you want a severance in your life, right? So he is a sad character. And then when he rips up his wife, who we've never seen, they don't talk about her other than she passed away. And he rips it up, and he's kind of manic about it, right? It's like, you think I care? Look at, I've moved on, and he's this manic person,
so uncomfortable.
Right?
So uncomfortable.
So, and then you feel bad for him. You feel awkward for the girl he was dating that was there, right? In the moment, like she's like, this is crazy, man. Homeboy is not stable.
Yeah. And then he takes it back together, which was sad too.
Then he removes his thumb. And who is it? Oh, who is it, Jay?
It's the psychiatrist lady.
You know what was weird too is because we don't notice this. They had that interaction where they were an inch apart in the hallway, right? They were passing this through in hallway, and they kind of have to pass each other. And he was like very sympathetic to her as another human, not as his wife.
Yeah.
That broke me too. That broke me a little.
So do you think that Lumon caused the car accident that she died in? Or do you think it was like an organ donor type situation where like they think she might die and they're like, well, since she might die anyway, can we do this experimental thing on her? This experimental procedure kind of thing.
So he did work for Lumon before she died. I'm almost certain of that, right? So I think maybe it was hatched up. Yeah, because they were saying how he was working at Lumon. She died. He tried to go back to teaching. It didn't work. And then he went to the Severance program, Lumon. So I don't know what department he worked in Lumon. He wasn't in the Severance program.
Oh, I thought he was teaching at a school. His teaching history. I could have
sworn. I could be wrong. Knights, feel free to badger me. But as I recall, he was working at Lumon. She dies. Like recently went to Lumon. This was all in like the last 2 episodes.
I thought he was a history teacher at a professor.
Yeah, he was that, and then he went to Lumon.
And then he tried teaching again before he was at Lumon. And then he decided to get Severance. Well, no, it's good because then one of us can be right.
I mean, we are doing Murphy's Law, right?
Yeah.
No, because that's how I took it. Okay, I'll go through my explanation, then you go through yours, right? A little clear. I thought he worked at Lumon. In my head, this is how I think of it, and it could be wrong. Welcome to Theories. He worked at Lumon. Maybe he was at a department, and they're like, hey, let's try this out, because you can erase your memory. Welcome to doing whatever you want, right? Let's see. Sorry, I was trying to Google it because it's bugging me. And then he goes from Lumon to the wife dying, and then he goes back to teaching, because they said he went back to teaching for 3 weeks, right? That part we're agreed on, right?
Yeah.
He went back for a few weeks, couldn't handle it, and then enter the Severance program, because you don't have to work for Lumon and do Severance.
Right.
Lumon's a big company. So how do you see it then?
So I saw it as he was a professor. They got in a car accident, and his wife was like, I thought it was an organ donor situation where it was like and this is a guess, but my guess was that, we're concerned she might be brain dead. Can we do an experiment on her? And the government was like, sure, whatever. And they did it, and then it was a success, and she survived, and they kept her on and keep her severed, so she doesn't remember Mark. And I don't know what's going on the other side. I think she would remember Mark on the other side, but I don't know what exactly is happening in the dark hallway. I mean, that's one of the big mysteries, right?
Yeah, I mean, and they don't say much. They just are like, oh, here you go. I guess you're right, according to Wikipedia.
Okay,
Tandems.
good. Of course.
Man, why do I like my story better? Maybe I just dreamt it so much.
Yeah, that does happen for me sometimes too.
Yeah, I'm still in disbelief on things. But I mean, that is true. Like, how did she become in? And she doesn't have an outie.
Yeah.
She just goes to that room.
Yeah. I know. And that was, maybe she does have an outie, but they don't show it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I don't know. They kind of like said to turn her off. Again, maybe I'm just blowing this up, man. Do better homework, dude. Do better homework.
Well, no, but that's the thing is they're so cryptic is that it could mean one thing, even though they're saying one thing, it could mean another. Like it's all over the place. How stressed out were you when he was like this was my biggest complaint for the show is the whole last episode they took so long to get anything done. They have this little pep talk like, okay guys, remember we got to go and we got to tell the first person we see what's happening, and then it happens and all of them take so long. I get that she's at a party, but the homeboy painter, why is he going through his stuff so slowly? Like, why doesn't he, like, go talk to someone, bro. And then Mark, I kind of understand that one too a little bit because it's like he wakes up and one of the first people he sees is Harmony.
But he doesn't acknowledge her. Is that he just goes with it?
That was
and the homeboy
though.
Dylan holding that full starfish for like 30 minutes,
Spread
right?
eagle.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
No, that didn't bother me. That's what I was trying to call back to the scene about that he's alive. Open your eyes. Like we know he knows the wife. Like we know the wife is gonna have a picture there, right? And it's like 25 minutes in. Oh, Mark, let me have a picture. Nothing. Oh, I have one here. Oh, I got distracted. Oh, let me go to this room and pass by this room where we could have memories. No, nothing.
My wife said she even saw one on the wall that he just didn't notice.
Right, yeah. That's what I was thinking too in the hallway.
Yeah. So when he finally does see it, I was like, I was ready to tackle Johnny to the ground and bite his arm.
You should have. I would have allowed it for that scene.
It was torturing you too. It took so long, right? Like that was the most tortured I've been in a show for a long time.
I've been sharing my client Ryan's theory on at the very end, right? At the very cliffhanger, which I know you love cliffhangers, when he goes, "She's alive." He thinks it's reference. Let's see if you remember this. Reference to because the whole premise was no one could find the baby. And it's just him, Mark, and this other character who find the baby. And then all of a sudden you hear Mark running out. She's alive. And then he gets woken up to his outie. So they think they're going to my client goes like, yeah, they believe he's going to just be like, oh, yeah, the baby is alive. She is alive. We found her. I agreed with a lot of it. But in my head, I go, was he holding the picture of her and running towards it? Because he opened up to his sister and she believed him. She was going to help, the outie, right? She was all the innie. She was all for it. So I don't remember he's holding the picture. But I like that as a theory of when we cut to season 2, it's going to be him at the party being like, oh, great, my niece is alive. And then, da-da-da-da-da.
I think it's going to be a combination. Like, they're going to be like, what did your outie mean? Or your innie mean? What did he mean? What did your innie mean? And they'll be like, I don't know. I was holding this picture and that. And they're like, well, it could have meant this, or it could have meant this, or like, I think they're going to actually acknowledge what it could have meant and not be sure.
Yeah, can you believe there's going to be no stopping him if his wife's alive?
I know. So I think it's got to be a question.
And how are they going to...
Now he knows that his neighbor's spying on him too.
Well, I mean, they know that, right? They know...
For sure they know that.
So her cover's blown.
Yeah.
Because the sister found out, right?
Yes.
So in my head, I'm like, how are they gonna wake these people up again or turn onto their innie? Because they've broken every rule, right?
Yeah.
Because what happens when they break a rule and they're hurt? Because they punish them, right? They don't just be like, you're reprimanded. They literally like punish them,
Torture them.
and then they wake up and they put a sign like, hey, you slipped. All right, well, I slipped. Not that I don't know any better, right?
Yeah.
It's like the little scene of like, oh, I just had a baby. Oh, I forgot. I didn't even realize I was my baby mom. Your innie had a kid. You don't even know it, right?
Yeah.
Which was one of the best psychological questions that they had. They just go over it. It's one of the downsides because they don't go too political. They go a little political in this, which is just the right amount.
But it was more. It was less political and more like morality. Like
like clones.
How is this? How is morally? How is this okay?
And one of the downside is if someone is Severance, a female, has a baby, comes out pregnant, she doesn't know she's married. She doesn't know what she has out there, right?
Yeah.
And how is that going to work? Like, how are you going to sort that out, right?
Right.
I don't know, man. I'm very confused on a lot of them. I know Mark is pretty solid. I think the true blue baddie on this is Helly, man. The one who voluntarily severed herself to prove something to daddy. I don't know.
Yeah, and she's the craziest of them too. So she's just got a very fanatical personality. So does
her innie.
Yeah, well, both of them though. The Audi does too.
I mean, she has to, right, to be willing to
severance it just for the company's name, just for the crazy cold. Yeah, I loved her dad just because he did such a good job of making me like uncomfortable in those moments.
She does a super good job of, you can tell she's something, right? Everyone else kind of seemed like they're there for, not really. I mean, we don't know for sure. Like Mark's there, we know why. Depression, right? Doesn't want to deal with anything. They all have different theories of what would make you do it.
Dylan, my guess would be just money. Like I think it was just a job for him. I don't think there was anything more to it than that.
Yeah. He's goal oriented, right? Like he brags about goal stuff, right? Or maybe he just doesn't like to work. Imagine you just kind of blink and you don't have to work and you have money in your account, right?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want that? No, all kidding aside, like who wouldn't want to just be like, it's 3 p.m. or it's 5 p.m. Cool, let me go watch a movie, have some fun.
Yeah.
You get to enjoy sleep, right? You got to wake up and enjoy sleep, and then those 8 hours, you don't know what happens. You just blink and it's gone.
What do you think about Irving?
I think was there a newspaper clipping? I'm trying to remember in his folder they did something to the dad. Maybe he's out for revenge. I think he's out for revenge.
Yeah, it was something about Lumon, and yeah, I think so.
He's he's awake. He's some part awake. Because he keeps seeing these he zones out, right? And he sees that black liquid. So something about him isn't 100% right.
Yeah.
And we don't know who helped Homeboy. Is it Polly?
I don't know.
Oh, what was the guy, the original one who got fired day 2?
Oh,
I'm trying to blank on him.
I know you're talking about.
Petey. Sorry.
Thank you.
Who woke up Petey?
What was that black lady? I don't remember her name. The professor. Florence was her name. You know what I'm talking about? The one who took the baseball bat to the back of that guy's head that I hate. The security guard's head.
But what is she in that she just knows how to wake people up?
She's a professor. They don't go into it more than that. That she's like a professor. So she probably worked with Mark too. But I loved that scene is so satisfying when the guy he's such a snake. Like such a wolf.
Yeah, the security guard, right?
Yeah, when he's like, "Hey, I work with you," and he's being all nice and gentle, and Ben doesn't know, not Ben, Mark doesn't know.
Ben Wyatt with your little hair.
So Mark doesn't know that he's a bad guy. You know that he's one of the worst of the worst at the place. Like I wanted him to die so badly. That
you did it.
He was such a creepy, dude. Anyway. Gets drilled in the back of the head by that wonderful professor who, like, her character was awesome, even though she was only in it for a little bit.
She was the one that was calling the phone. You're right. Sorry, I just drew a total blank on that. I thought there was more to it. I thought it was more of an inside job. I'm just hoping, because I know how much you love him. I really hope it was Milchick somehow.
Yeah. Well, that is one thing I was going to bring up. I love how diverse the cast is too. Like it just feels so organically diverse. You know what I mean? And they got such talented actors for it.
Yeah, it's no ageism, no nothing on that one.
Yeah, I
Just
know.
go.
But they did it in a way that it feels so organic. Like it never at any point did it ever feel like they were trying to say something about it. You know what I mean? That's the way to do it. I don't know. That's just a quick side note that like anyone taking photo or not taking photos, anyone taking notes who's a future screenwriter, that's how to do it. This is the perfect way to do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
excited.
So what?
Oh, I just said I'm pretty excited about it.
I'm a little shocked that your favorite character is not Rickon, the author, Mark's brother-in-law.
I do love him so much.
I do love
dude.
him too.
He is such a putz. That's totally me. Like
you and I could have made if we were on this with him.
Oh my gosh, he is
His
so
platitudes.
funny.
His platitudes are my life.
Dude, some of the things he says that are totally wrong but are so funny. Like when I can't remember, there was one. It was like he was like, this word comes from something, and it's like it was from like a 1940s phrase, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like that word's been around for so long.
But that's how pretentious they were, right? Like he was having a dinner party with no dinner, and then the one friend was trying to like boast about dinner conversation and like judging Mark. It was like, oh, I know history. Did you know in history the first war, World War I, wasn't called World War I? It was called the Great War. Isn't that weird? And they're like, well, because it's the first war.
Yeah,
there wasn't World War II yet. You couldn't call it World War
I.
I.
And they're all like, oh.
But right, that's who would hang out with Rickon, right? He's just, I don't know. One of my favorite, the one that we were trying to reenact, very, very awesomely, as I like to put it, where any Mark who reads his book, finds his book, worships him, because that's the only book he's ever seen, right?
And that was an interesting point in and of itself. Like, what would you do if you were completely innocent, and this was the first book on philosophy you'd ever read, and it was the only one you'd ever read? Like, how would that affect you mentally, especially if you were already a fully grown person with 2 years of life under your belt?
Those platitudes were, very easy, open-ended stuff that the layman person could get, right? Like, they're just like, oh, you had a bad day, we'll wish it away. Like some crap, like, you know what I mean, though? It's like, oh, cool.
Yeah, you are the master of your own fate, You make your own decisions. It was pretty, like, high school football motivational.
Yeah.
Like lame, like pretty elementary. So, like...
basic.
Yeah, Mark would have scoffed at it, but his innocent version loved it.
Yeah. And that's how it was. That's what we were going over nights earlier about a great actor. The way he was enamored by seeing that guy in real life, right? Like, your work changed my life. I really like that interaction. Rickon he's a good character. I feel like he's gonna have a really cool scene in seasons 2 or 3, where he just does something brave, but it kind of backfires. You know what I mean? One of those like clunky, like, no, Mark, I will. He's like there's gonna be a chase scene, and Rickon just kind of bumps the car and saves the day and doesn't mean to.
Yeah, or he tackles someone, and
by accident, like he trips over his feet and it holds down the guy. He's gonna have good scenes. I feel like I said, there's a lot more to explore.
I liked him so much. He was such an odd, sensitive, bizarre dude. I thought he was so funny. He was the best for jokes. Like, you talk about how there's almost no jokes in the show. Like, he added an element of humor, all just himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was a walking punchline. I mean,
even
the Mark's sister who married him was like, yeah, I know he's the worst. Yeah, I know this.
I loved it. He was such a great character.
And like how he freaked out about the book. Mark gives Mark a book, and the book's gone. And he's like, Mark, you haven't said anything. I gave you a book. Where, like, Jay, when you drop off your book when it's finally done, if I don't text you within 5 minutes, know something happened to it, okay?
I didn't get your book. He's all offended.
Well, and then he goes like, that's an advanced copy. Like, I know you're freaking out. That's why you don't want to give me one, because I'm going to leak it. I'm going to leak it into my Instagram, my personal account.
I was going to ask, kind of switching gears on that same note, in terms of like leaks and stuff, I want to hear some predictions. What are your thoughts on what Lumon is doing? Like, what's the technology in terms of like the goats or the scary numbers? Or
the paintings do stuff too, right? Like, I don't know what's going on, dude. I don't know. That's why I love this. I have nothing on a lot of these things, right? For all we know, they're trying to sell a product for the government to buy. so they make it even weirder so it works, right? Sometimes you have to have in a beta test, right? You have to make it so weird obstacles as if it'll work. Like, what if these people run into a different department? How are they going to react? So they might need to have these as scenario. It could be something that simple. Sure, we'll say that. They're just running experiments.
I love that. That it's just psychological experiments, like the Stanford prison experiment or things like that.
Right, yeah.
They're literally just doing that, and they're collecting data on it, and that's all they're doing. That was gonna be my guess. Is I think it's all just psychological. Right? You are so smart, Johnny. You are so effing smart.
You're so smart.
Podcast
us are smart. Gym bros us or don't talk to us at the gym. You're gonna know. We don't know words good.
Oh, okay.
But it's true though, right? Because if you think about it, we don't know if this is the first time they're doing it, right? The program. We don't know if anyone else is severed, but the 4 of them, right?
Right.
And to have the
other department.
Yeah, the CEO's daughter involved, it's a big deal, right?
Yeah. I think Severance is the product. Everything else they're doing is just, like you said, psychological. Okay. I kind of want to start getting closer to wrapping up, but before we do, there's a big question I had for you. Are there any bads for the show? Any complaints?
That dance scene took me out. I'll get lashed on that. Yeah, I get it. It was all right, but that was my only bad. Because it wasn't too bad. It wasn't bad, right? Mm-hmm.
For me, the one of the bads was how did no one have an issue with the dude just bleeding out his nose, falling over and dying, and no one's like doing an autopsy? No one's like, hey, he was a severed employee, maybe we should see if there was anything going on with, his brain from the severance. Like, how is there no study? Like, someone dying in such a visible way. I was like, Severance, I feel like there should have been something that showed like Lumon was covering it up, kind of thing, because they didn't show that. They didn't show any police involvement where they're trying to cover it up, any money changing hands. They didn't show any, like, they had her go and drill it at the funeral. I'm like, why didn't they do that when they were at the morgue? Like, this was an opportunity for you to show that Lumon's got some of the government in their pocket, or Lumon's got some of the police force in their pocket, or something. This would have been a great opportunity, and instead they had her go and pretend to be someone that knew him and drill in the middle of the service. Like, that just to me seemed wildly, like, unrealistic to the real. That was my only bad. Like, that one I watched it and I'm like, that's stupid.
I mean, it looked like she took care of it herself, but maybe it's just so new. Why were concussions not a big deal until, 5 years ago for NFL players? Maybe they just don't have enough backing to it. There's 4 protesters on the street, college kids, complaining about, you should end Severance. Like, come on.
Yeah, but the guy died. He died, Johnny, and blood coming out of his nose and ears, and he was in the newspaper that he was a Severance.
Big pharma talks, man.
All I'm saying is it was interesting that there wasn't a little bit more hubbub and no one called for an autopsy. If they had indicated that it was because of the big pharma stuff, that would have been okay. But the indication was that it wasn't, that it just happened to be that way. Because why else would she be drilling in the background? You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't they have done it at the morgue if they had people in their pocket?
Yeah, and Petey's wife the ex-wife was angry at him, right? She hated Severance. Like, the minute Mark was like, they were all excited to meet Petey's friend, and then Mark's like, I worked with him. They're like, Severance, and they got it all mad, right?
Yeah.
So they could have done it. Maybe the family got hush money. Who knows? You're right on that one. I'll point to Hufflepuff. Good job, Jay.
I hate that you say I'm in Hufflepuff. It's Slytherin, Johnny. Just the worst.
Do the shark laugh. I know, for me that's like the biggest insult. Hufflepuff, and watch the biggest guy we ever know is going to be Hufflepuff and just destroy us.
Oh, yeah. Coolest people. I mean, Newt Scamander is probably the coolest wizard, and he was in Hufflepuff, but...
nerd alert.
Okay. All right, Johnny, let's wrap it up. What do you want to see in season 2?
I want to see more of their outies of the other characters. I want to really, really get to meet Helly outie. Because, they're going to cut to her being like, hey, JK, it's just a joke. Haha, funny. To get to know more. I want more of the outie world building, not the innie world building. How about that?
Yeah, I want to see some outrage. I think the way things happened, there has to be some outrage. Justice will be mine.
And served.
What else do you want to see?
That'll be good. I want to see way more of Rickon. He's such an oddball, man. A little bit more Rickon. And I would love to get at least one of them, their outies, to know each other, help each other out. Because that might not, in my perfect world, this goes 3 to 5 seasons and it's open and closed, right? Doesn't linger on. Even 3 seasons. You can do this good in 3 seasons, right? Beginning, middle, end it. Where they team up in season 2 a little bit. Not enough to like take over the world, but kind of how Petey and Mark were, but they both acknowledge each other. Not just one acknowledges him.
Here's my bold prediction on that. I think that Irv and Mark are on the outside world are going to team up pretty well because Irv had all that information. I think he's going to encounter Mark, and Mark was the one who was able to get information out to his family, and they're going to connect the dots, and I think that'll be interesting.
I want his innie to remember him. That's what it is. Not just like his outie. I want him just to. I mean, it's just a little bit.
Yeah. So I don't think Irv got to say anything to Bert, did he?
Well, so if you believe Bert, he didn't, right? In the end of season 1. But if Bert is awake, which he could be, like maybe he was part of this whole scheme, right? And he's awake the whole time. Maybe Bert will slip up and be like, "What are you doing here? How'd you find me?" Or something. I don't know. Or maybe Bert's just that good of an actor. Be like, "Can I help you?"
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. That I didn't realize that could be a twist character.
It could be very twisty because like Bert lied about how big the department was, right?
Yeah.
Bert lied about a lot of stuff. Like he knew how to find the department. Oh, my old department head. Like he had a lot of answers, Bert, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And like I said, maybe only 3 of them are out of the loop. Don't know what's going on. Because technically Hilly knows, or Helly. Hilly's a friend of mine from work. Helly knows, her outie knows what's going on, right?
Yeah.
But the other 3 are just like, hey, this is a job.
Yeah. I like that. So I want to see how the outside world, obviously we're going to see it, but how do they react to, how did what the outies did, how did what the innies did affect the outies world? I want to see the repercussions.
It could be nothing.
Yeah, that was the scary part.
It could, like, they cut him enough where it could be nothing.
Yeah.
Right away. Obviously, it's going to be something, but not till episode 3. Who knows?
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen to Dylan?
Well, so they legally don't have to do anything for the outie, right? All they can do is like, "Oh, you're fired," and you don't know what happened, right? And there's no way to get out any notes, and he doesn't want to know, right? Like the minute his character was awoken for a second, and he goes like, "Hey man, oh good, did you fix it?" Like, so they're all on board, right? He's on board for the severance, but you don't have to do anything. The outie's dead.
Yeah. The moral ambiguity of that is so interesting.
Yeah, is it 2 personalities? Are you killing a soul, but they're technically the same soul, but they're two separate personalities, but they're not the same soul, right?
Right, 2 sets of memories. Yeah, and will any of them get reintegrated? That's something I want to see on the next season is, will anyone else get reintegrated, but this time not die?
Back into, like, they're gonna allow the innie to go back to work like nothing happened, or
no, meaning like their memories are gonna fuse, like kind of what happened to.
Yeah. Which what happens when you have this is a lot in like time travel shows, like when you have multiple dimensions mixing in, right? Your mind can't hold both. This is what it is, right? It's 2 split personality, and your mind can't handle it, and you die. So that's interesting too. So that's what you're trying to say. I gotcha.
And maybe they'll have a successful one this time. I don't know. But that's something I'd like for them to explore.
Maybe that's what Hilly's doing too, or Helly. I don't know, I keep calling her Hilly. Who knows, man? There's so much more. Like I said, this was a good just intro.
Yeah.
But I really hope they don't milk it, and I hope they don't get ahead of themselves, which is so easy to do.
Yeah. Well, we could do 10 seasons. All right, Johnny, I think...
But should you?
I think we're good on that cast, so I'm going to go ahead and turn him off.
Yo, dude, I hit some PR today.
Hey, Johnny, how you doing?
Dude, PR City. I was deadlifting in front of this gym bunny. Oh, you should have seen me, bro.
You weren't being
anyway, when we get that lift in.
Let's lift sometime soon.
Chest day tomorrow, man. Never skip a chest day.
All right, Knights. Jay and Jim Johnny will see you on the flippity flop.
Let's go.